This is not a good look for the gun community. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. But let's talk about this. This is coming out of Hartford, Connecticut, but I believe the incident actually happened in New Britain. A person there was basically, they raided his house after what they said was a very long investigation, and they found multiple firearms and rounds of ammunition and 3 explosive devices. I want to give context, so here's a news article from Fox 61, and I want to play that once again for context.
News tonight, a New Britain man facing nearly 50 charges after police found more than 100 weapons and tens of thousands of ammunition in his home and his car.
Tony Black is here with the very latest on the investigation and the arrest. Tony.
Yeah, Ben and Jen, this was a 10-month investigation involving state police, New Britain Police, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. State police say that this was a big bust that shocked those neighbors.
I think this is a significant seizure that's definitely impacts the safety of our streets in a good way.
34-year-old Stephen Geraint Mastriani faces dozens of charges for what police found in his New Britain home Tuesday. Take a look at these pictures. Roughly 125 guns, 3 homemade explosive devices, up to 40,000 rounds of ammunition, as well as a 3D printer police say was used to make gun parts.
Our concern was more of the fully automatic weapons that were found, the 3 homemade explosives that were found in his house. That was really the big concern, to get those fully automatic weapons, to get those explosives off the streets.
Neighbors I spoke with on his street described the search at the home. They said it was like the president's motorcade. Police vehicles clogged the street. From the morning until the evening, neighbors say the investigation lasted all day. One neighbor said Geraint Mastriani was a nice guy that kept to himself, and they're shocked that this was going on their block. Police say a majority of the fully and semi-automatic firearms, shotguns, and pistols were ghost guns. The Connecticut State Police bomb squad safely disposed of the homemade explosive devices. Trooper First Class Pedro Munez says this seizure makes the streets safer.
There's always a danger when weapons are being sold illegally.
And he faces charges including sale and possession of an assault weapon, possession of a machine gun, and illegal transfer of a ghost gun. He's being held on a $500,000 bond. In the studio tonight, Tony Black, Fox 61 News.
Now, from the same website Fox 61, here's this article. Here, more than 100 guns, thousands of rounds of ammunition seized in New Britain. State police said many of the firearms were ghost guns, which departments around the state are seeing more often. Those of you in the gun community know that the ghost guns is their propagandized term for firearms that are made by the individual in their home. Hartford, Connecticut. More than 100 guns, tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition, and 3 homemade explosive devices were among the weapons seized by state police in New Britain after almost a year-long investigation into the production and sale of illegal firearms. These firearms include multiple fully automatic firearms, semi-automatic firearms, shotguns, pistols with threaded barrels, and hundreds of high-capacity magazines, said Lieutenant Anthony Giuliano of Connecticut State Police. State police arrested 39-year-old Stephen Geraint Mastriani, who is now facing several charges, including firearms trafficking. Police said they also found a 3D printer and parts of pistols that appeared to be made with the printer. Police said many of the guns they found are considered ghost guns, which do not have a serial number. Quote, unfortunately, these guns end up in the wrong hands. They go around our licensing and gun statutes and they end up in the wrong hands. And sooner or later, they're going to end up hurting somebody, said State Police Commissioner James Rovella. According to state police, it's something they're seeing more often. In 2020, Waterbury Police seized three ghost guns, and New Haven Police 3, and Hartford seized 7. In 2021, those numbers went up across the board: 9 in Waterbury, 15 in New Haven, and 29 in Hartford. This year, Waterbury police have already seized 4, New Haven 10, and Hartford 20, and that's just in the first 3.5 months of the year. 4 or 5 years ago, the issue of ghost guns may have been a theoretical issue or a distant problem. Today, it is a very real, present, and growing problem, said Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin. Just this week in New Haven, police found multiple ghost guns following a shooting right outside of a school. We have more of these on the streets today than we have had in decades, said Governor Ned Lamont. According to officials, the issue is not exclusive to Connecticut. It's seen around the country. This week, President Biden issued an executive order to crack down on ghost guns, banning unserialized firearm kits and requiring manufacturers include serial numbers and become licensed. The Connecticut Citizens Defense League argues the focus should be on being tougher on criminals rather than creating tougher legislation. These things are still happening in our state, and we have had this law for years. It does not stop criminals, said Holly Sullivan, president of the CCDL. This legislation will not fix anything because it is targeting a device and not the individual behind it, she said. In Connecticut, ghost guns became illegal in 2019. Those manufactured before then were grandfathered in, but this year Governor Lamont has been pushing for those to be registered as well. Okay. Now, you remember what I said, it's not a good look for the gun community, because this guy here, Stephen Mastriani, was obviously manufacturing firearms and selling them. And obviously, we know he wasn't going through the proper procedures to sell those firearms. So it does create a huge problem, and it's a bad look for the gun community, because here's a guy who's circumventing the law, and who is he selling these guns to? That is important. Let me be very clear. I don't care about the guy the person who makes one and it's for themselves and using it, but this is not good. This guy is making hundreds of them, and he obviously was selling them to whoever had the money. So who are those people that he's selling them to? Okay, obviously people who, probably can't purchase one through legal means. That's not a good look. I personally do not have a problem with background checks. To some degree, I don't have a problem with the permitting system, as long as it's not abused at the local level, which has happened. But I do have a problem with the fact that after you've gone through the rigmaroles and jumped through every hoop they ask you to do and pay for everything that, they want you to pay for the fingerprinting and the processing and the classes and so forth. Once you receive that permit, I don't think anybody should be able to tell you what you can have and how many rounds you can have in a magazine. Okay. Now they're saying that this is becoming a larger problem as 3D printers are becoming more and more, easier to obtain, and the prices on them are starting to go down. You're going to see this more often. But this here, unfortunately, this is what, especially in Ned Lamont, because if you remember Governor's Bill number 16, which just got kind of demolished, this was part of it. He was going to basically no more manufacturing of ghost guns. I hate that term, but it's the one that makes the most sense, where people can go, oh, okay, I don't have to say anything different. This is what he was trying to do, but it didn't stop this guy. Remember, we had the law, 2019, we had the law that basically banned the manufacturing of these. This guy was doing it anyway, which shows you that laws are only as good as the people who are willing to follow them. So, I have no problem with this guy being arrested. He was doing some very, very, very shady stuff, and it brings a bad light on all of us, and we have to kind of look at it that way. Now, I know some people are arguing, Second Amendment, well, this goes way beyond that. This is criminal, and we have to hold those who do criminal things accountable for what they do. Because this just gives fodder to the anti-gun community to sit there going, see, we told you. And they will use something like this to once again bring back up the really awful parts of Governor Bill number 16, to then bring it back in by using this one example. I'm going to say this, and this is my personal view as far as when it comes to gun crime. my position is simply this. If you buy a gun for somebody, or you give a gun to somebody that you know, knowingly, you give that person a gun that they can't have due to maybe a criminal, or they got a criminal record, or whatever it is, if you give that gun to somebody and they go out and commit a crime with it, you should be held to the same charges and that person will receive. I'll give you an example. The incident out in California, I can't remember exactly what town it is, I hope somebody can tell me, where two people went on a mass shooting spree, but the firearms that they obtained were purchased for them by someone else and given to them, and they went out and committed a crime. In my opinion, the person who gave those two people those firearms should be held to the same charges. So if they're going to charge those people with murder, the person who gave them the gun should be charged with murder also. Sounds controversial, but it will prevent people from doing something like this. And the fact that he had explosive devices, what for? What was the point of explosive devices? Why are you making them? What are you doing? It's not a good look. But they caught this guy, and he's facing all kinds of charges. But as I said, we need to hold people accountable when they do things with firearms, not the actual people who are following the law, because that's what most gun control laws focus on, people who are willing to follow them. And it doesn't help with things like this or crime in general. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. As always, any comments of violence or statements that lead to violence will be deleted. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you get notified the next time the video goes live. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.